DorkLair.
Welcome to another DorkLair action figure review. Today I'm taking a look at the Mythic Legion's horses. Right up front here we have Balius, and then in the back we have the horse that belongs to Arethyr, and his name is Aethon. So a horse from the Legion of Arethyr and a horse from the Legion of the Army of Odysseus. So a good guy horse, a bad guy horse. Aethon has a very specific name and purpose. It's Arethyr's horse, but I feel like Balius could be almost like an army builder type horse. If you have infinite space, because these things are huge, beautiful figures. I actually really like them. I don't know if they're like anatomically perfect horses or anything like that, but in general, I think they're beautiful looking action figures. That's for sure. They're nice, big, sturdy pieces. They have a lot of movable parts, a lot of points of articulation. They are large. These are warhorse size horses when it comes to stacking them up with the other Mythic Legion's action figures. Anyway, so this review is going to kind of be for both. I'll mostly focus, I think, on Balius in terms of articulation and stuff, but we'll look at the details on both, the similarities, the differences, and kind of call it just a Mythic Legion's horse review for this video. I'll bring in some other figures too so that you can see the size comparisons. But yeah, these horses are great, so let's get into this review. Here's a quick look at the box. I'm showing you just the box for Aethon, even though I'm kind of reviewing both horses in this video, just for the sake of time and space and whatnot. The difference is that Aethon's box has a picture of Aethon in the little profile over there. Neither of the boxes have bios for the two horses. But here's the back with, again, that amazing artwork from Nate Barch. You got the two different horses over here. And then on this side is the Arethyr logo, and on Balius, it's the Odysseus logo. So you got Balius side over here, and then you've got the Arethyr, or the Aethon side over here. Nice big window box. The background art is different, and I'll show you those next. So this is the background on the inside of the box for Aethon, and it's got Arethyr on there, and it looks like it's got the other horsemen. So you've got probably Paxus here, and then maybe Necronominus here, and I believe that's Arethyr over here. So I'm not so sure about this versus this, but yeah, so that's pretty cool artwork there that comes on the Aethon box. And more Nate Barch art over here again. We have this tower that I believe is the same tower on the inside of the Equidron boxes. But nice big backdrop there. And these would make great for put it in the back on the shelf, or put it in a photograph with some figures, because it is a nice large backdrop. All right, let's start it off with a look at Balius from the front. And there's the profile. And here's a look at Aethon from the front. And there's Aethon's profile. And then a quick look at both horses side by side here. They are the same body for the most part. I think they share the same neck, the same torso, same upper legs. They do have different sculpted lower legs here. You can see Aethon's got the hair. The manes are different, and those are removable, and the saddles are a little bit different as well, and the collar around the neck. And I apologize, I don't know my horse terminology, but whatever that is, the yoke, or I don't even know, whatever that is around the horse's neck, those are different as well. But otherwise, for the most part, they're kind of like the same build. It's the same buck, so to speak, with different swap out parts. And of course, different paint jobs. And getting a close-up look at Balius, here's the head sculpt. You can see some really nicely detailed fur in there. It's not just smooth, it looks like fur. And then you have some sort of white painted there down the front, a white stripe down the front of the face. And nice musculature sculpted throughout, and nice shading with the musculature. And this harness is a separate piece. I haven't really decided if I want to try to remove it, because I think you got to probably heat it, stretch it, and then pull it off, because it doesn't peg on, as far as I can tell, around the, is it the snout? I don't know what you call it on the horse. The muzzle, around the mouth of the horse, it's tight. So you would probably have to heat it up and stretch it off of there. And then he's got a plastic rope, so to speak. It is looped on with a little bit of a you know, a metal, I think that's a metal loop right there onto the bridle or the harness. A lot of nice leathery looking details in the saddle and the blanket. And then you have the stirrups that have a metallic paint to them. And then this piece is also separate. Kind of covers up that seam nicely too. There's the seam under the neck for the articulation point there. And then there's fading down into like a black coloring down in the fur towards the feet, black hooves. There's the saddle strap underneath that's got that like cushioning under there, that little like another like sort of blanket under there that cushions it. Also on the saddle is a blanket roll, and Aethon has the same blanket roll. My only issue with that is that it pegs very loosely on there, and it tends to sort of fall off pretty easily when you're just moving it around and stuff. So, you know, you could kind of like, you're not going to lose it. It's a pretty big piece, but it'll fall off easily, at least on mine. And the saddle is removable. It's a little bit of a tight fit, but let me see if I can do it on camera. So I just kind of take that piece we were just talking about off, and then I'm sticking his legs backward like this, and then sliding it over, and it's just tight over the thighs or whatever, the haunches. I don't know what you call those on a horse. I should have done some research beforehand, but then my video wouldn't have been out for another couple days. So, all right, let's see if I can get this thing off here. There we go. So that slides right off, brings his legs back forward, and you can kind of see the overall look of the horse now. And there you see Balius without his saddle on. You could potentially put an elf on there, you know, I would imagine an elf riding bareback. But yeah, so pretty cool. The saddle is removable. You could probably swap the saddles between the two figures. And his tail, you know, it's got a nice wash to it. It's brown, but it's got a lot of blacks in there as well. So, you know, it's a pretty nice looking tail on the horse, and it matches with the mane up here. And like I said, the mane is removable. Just kind of tilt the head forward a little bit and then pop that off, and you could eventually swap it on when they have other horses with other parts, or just, you know, maybe put this mane on the red horse or something. And just like the equidron horses, the heads are removable from a forward-facing peg like this, and you can totally swap a head from another horse or even from the equidron figures on to Balius right there to give it more of like a bad guy horse type look. So pretty cool looking right there. Actually, he would just need maybe some more heavier armor, maybe grab pieces from Aethon to put on him and like beef him up a little bit, but not a bad look right there. And let's take a look at Aethon's details. A lot more going on with this horse. Much more fantastical, where Balius is, you know, pretty much a regular horse, like in a fantasy world. This is a fantasy horse in a fantasy world. You know, I did hear a couple people complain they kind of wished that Balius's mane and like tail were made from that same sort of clear stuff that Arethyr has on the top of his head, the flames. You know, that kind of transparent, translucent plastic. That kind of would have been nice, but I do like the look of this. I love the way it's painted with that orange fade going on. And again, that's a removable piece. You could unpeg that. I'm not going to disassemble Aethon like I did with Balius. This whole headpiece is a separate piece. So again, if you probably heat it up and stretch it out, you could pop it right off, and not something I'm going to do right now. His chain is an actual chain. Like, this is a metal chain. Like this, if you listen to it like this, you can hear it. This is a metal chain. You can see a few little differences in the saddles. I think for the most part, the saddle part is the same. And then you have a different blanket. You have a different protector piece over here. The bedroll is the same sculpt, just a different color. But yeah, so their saddles are kind of the same, but also kind of different. Like the saddle itself is the same sculpt, but the blanket and a few little add-ons are different. And again, you can really see the fur sculpt going on throughout the figure. And Aethon has some nice reds fading down into orange, and then the flaming hooves. Another look at that head sculpt with the yellow eyes and those horns. But yeah, so really nice figure. Look at his tail, same sort of fade yellow into orange. One thing is like these joints can be kind of visible, but nobody really wants to look at a horse's ass anyway. So from the side, you don't really see the joints. You do see them from the front though. So that's one thing. Like right here, you're going to see those joints pretty well. But from the side, it looks good. And of course, like that's the sacrifice. When you want to have articulation, you're going to have some joints. And let's take a look at how they stack up next to and under a few action figures. So they're pretty big. You can see them next to a couple 1.0 sized figures with Arethyr and Atlas over here. And then here they are next to the Dragon and Axe Battler from Storm Collectibles Golden Axe series. And I think that these might work out well in terms of size-wise. Obviously the Dragon's small, but it's like a mount of roughly the same size as these guys. Maybe slightly smaller than these horses. He's just got a longer neck. And then Axe Battler, I think, might fit on a horse. And we're going to give that a try as we check out a few figures on top of these guys. And then next up, I just wanted to share, it barely fits in the frame here, but Shadow Equidron, an ogre-sized figure next to the two horses. Okay, first of our mounted looks, here's Arethyr on Aethon. And it's just so epic. I can't believe this is in my hands after seeing it so long ago. This is an awesome look. And again, the horse is big. Like these figures are going to kind of like look fairly small on these big, massive war horses. But Arethyr's got enough stuff on him to kind of like fill out that space. But yeah, so that's how Arethyr looks on him. Oh, one thing too, and I did find that it was easier to just remove his loincloth than to try to like figure out where the heck to have that go while he's on his horse. And then next up is Atlas on Balius, and he looks pretty good as well because he's another big chunky guy. But yeah, that's how he looks on Balius. You can kind of get full perspective here. And again, I took his loincloth off just to make it easier to get him sit a little bit lower. But that can be a little bit tricky to get that natural pose going. But not too bad. I do kind of wish the stirrup went a little bit lower maybe. It can be kind of tricky there because it pushes him up a little bit there. But yeah, a little more fidgeting and I think I'll be all right with getting that positioning on the saddle. And then here's a look at the Axe Battler. And even that, like, he's big, but even that's not terrible because the horses are so large. The problem is the stirrups are just too low, so his leg can't kind of hang a little bit more lower, a little more natural, but size-wise, it's not terrible. And then for those of you who might have been curious about the size of a Mezco Batman on top of the horse, here's the Supreme Knight. A little small, in my opinion. And then here's the Mafex Dark Knight Returns on there. A little better. Like, he's a little bit bigger than the Mezco one. For accessories, like in addition to the saddle and so on, they do come with swords and shields. So Balius comes with one shield and one sword. And he does have places on the saddle where you could, like, sheath a sword, perhaps. Maybe like this. Put a sword on there. Maybe put a shield over here. Right? And so kind of like have him geared up a little bit more. And Aethon comes with two shields and two swords, and I believe they're pretty much the exact same as the shields and swords that came with Balius. So Balius comes with one shield, one sword of the same kind, and Aethon comes with two shields, two swords. And of course, I already mentioned the bedroll that pegs onto the back here sort of loosely. I tend to leave them off a little bit because they fall off very easily. So once I have it set up and I'm ready to put it on the shelf, I'll stick that in there last. But yeah, so there you go. So those are the accessories. All right, so getting a look at the articulation real quick. First, I just want to show you how the head pegs on there. You've got this ball joint sort of horizontally sticking straight forward, which gives a good range of motion. It can look up this high, and then it can look back down quite a bit. And then the neck itself is on a ball joint as well. And so that can kind of angle, it can angle down that far, and then you can add the head articulation to it, and then angle up, and then bring his head up quite a bit as well. In the leg, the front leg, you have a hinge that can hinge forward that far, and then it can come back that far. And then there is a twist at that as well. Same thing right here at the knee. You can hinge it back this far, and then it can come forward even a little bit as well. And there's a twist. And at the foot, you have a twist, and then you also have a hinge here. So, you know, he can do this thing with his foot, or he can bring it all the way straight down. So at the back leg, they can actually, I think there's a ball joint or maybe sort of a double barbell type thing going on back there, because it can spread the leg out to the side a little bit and front to back a tiny bit as well. So sort of a little bit of a range of motion there at that back leg. And then in addition to that ball, you have the hinge that can swing back and forth quite a bit. And then at the top of the leg, swing this way, twist at the knee, can come back about that far, and then it can come forward quite a bit. And then down at the foot, same thing as the front, swing back, swing forward, and twist. Finally, the tail is also articulated. It is on a hinge and can flare up or down or out to the side, one way or the other. So overall, I'm pretty happy with these horses. I don't really have a lot of complaints. I mean, other than I can't get a lot of them because they're just so big. Like, they're awesome. I would just be careful. Like, if you think you're going to army build these things, get some in hand first, because they are massive and they are going to take up a lot of shelf space in your collection. So they are a commitment, but well worth it. Highly recommend them. Like my other videos in this wave, this is just coming out. So be patient. Wait for this stuff to hit stores. I do think that Big Bad Toy Store, Empire Toy Shop, and other places, plus the in-stock sale that will eventually happen, these things will come along. You just have to be patient and pay attention and just don't miss them. Anyway, thanks for watching my video, and until next time, may the horse be with you.